You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.
Welcome to the Hot Options Report, your premier source for insight into the fast-moving options market. Each day, we'll track down the products that are dominating the options chains and impacting your trading account, from Nvidia to VIX and everything in between. If it's lighting up the options tape, then you'll find it on the Hot Options Report.
All right, everybody, that music means we are back once again. It is time for your Friday edition of your Hot Options Report for January 16th. My name, of course, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Radio Network. Make sure you're looking for us wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And, of course, while you're checking things out online, check out our friends over there at thehotoptionsreport.com. You can't beat the data. It's some of the best in the game, and you sure as hell can't beat the price. Thehotoptionsreport.com. Check it out. I think you're going to like what you find over there. Are we liking what we found out there in the options market today? The answer was yes. It was a wild one. It was a banger. Cost you 779,000 contracts to break into the top 10 today. That's a lot more than we've seen recently in the options market. That gets us to our old pal SMCI, aka Super Microcomputer Inc., closing today $32.66, up $3.24. Or about 11%, so a hot day for SMCI. What was the hot option for a hot day in SMCI? It was 38,000 of the 30 half calls expiring today. Average price for these, $1.27. And you know what? If you picked these up for that average price, you rode them into the close, you're a happy camper. The stock obviously went out north of 32.5, so a good run for those. As we keep climbing, was it a good run for number 9, listeners? The answer also yes. It's AMD, rallying nearly $4, $3.91 to close 231.83, up about 1.75%, putting up 835,000 contracts. For the number 9 spot, the hot option in AMD today, 61,000 of the 232 half calls. Average price for these, exactly $1. So kind of going the other way with these. If you bought these and rode them through the close, not exactly a great day. Now, you did have a high of nearly 234.5, so you did have opportunities if you bought these to get the heck out of Dodge. Looks like paper might have actually sold these, so if that's the case, you're a happy camper. You pocketed that full dollar. You just had to sweat a little bit in the morning. But then again, if you're not sweating for the short premium, did you really earn it at the end of the day, listeners? Let's keep jumping on up to number 8, our old pal Strategy, aka MSTR, jumping up a little bit today, closing 173.71, up $2.80, or about 1.6%, putting up 838,000 contracts. For the number 8 spot, the hot option in the monster today, 52,000 of the 180s. Again, these are all expiring today, listeners. Average price for these, about 16 cents. This was all opening flow, so let's hope they sold the heck out of these, because otherwise they threw away 16 cents 52,000 times, listeners. Let's keep climbing to number 7. This is a name that has been climbing quite a bit this week. Was it still climbing today? It's our old pal Intel, and the answer was no. Selling off to pretty much 47 exactly, off $1.30 or 2.75%, putting up 881,000 contracts. For the number 7 spot, the hot option out there in Intel today. This is the strike we've been watching for a while. It's the 50s. Yeah, they went up 38,000 times again today. Average price for these was 16 cents. Looks like paper was bailing on what they had left. They sold most of these. So if you bought these hoping for some 50 handle, you flirted with it earlier in the day, but ended up selling off today and not quite getting there. So if you sold these, congratulations. All right, let's keep climbing to number 6, listeners. This is our old pal Micron. I haven't talked about them in a little bit. Ticker symbol MU, of course. Popping hard today, closing up $26.12 or 7.75% to close at $362.75. A wild day out there for Micron. putting up 940,000 contracts for the number 6 spot. I have a feeling it's probably calls we're talking about today, and the answer is yes. It's the 360s going up 65,000 times. Average price for these, $1.88. And once again, these are expiring today. So once again, if you bought these and rode them through the close, you're a happy camper. They went out worth $275, obviously. So not a bad trade at the end of the day as we keep climbing to number 5. This is the name that, like a lot of big tech names, has come under some pressure this year. This is the Fruit Company, aka Apple. Closing today, $255.52, off $2.69, or pretty much 1%, putting up 1.03 million contracts for the number 5 spot. Again, we're only at number 5, already north of 1 million contracts. So a pretty heavy day out there in the options market. The hot option on a hot day in Apple was 107,000 of the 257 halves. Average price for these, 22 cents. This was opening flow. They were expiring today, but it looks like paper was leaning towards selling these, in which case, looks like they pocketed probably. They're 22 cents. Might have had to sweat a little bit today. They ended up working out if you did indeed sell these. Let's keep going up to number 4. Another name that's had an interesting start to the year. Selling off a bit today. This is Palantir, closing a couple of cents shy of 171, selling off $6.10, or nearly 3.5%, putting up 1.19 million contracts for the number 4 spot out there today. The hot option in Palantir, 96,000 of the 175s. Average price for these, 47 cents. Once again, looks like paper was probably selling these. They were an opening trade. So if that's the case, again, you might have had to sweat a little bit. They threatened that 175 handle intraday. But if you held on, you ended up pocketing pretty much all that 47 cents. So congrats to you as we keep climbing to number 3. Yes, number 3 is Tesla. All the way down at number 3. What's going on, listeners? Tesla selling off a little bit today, closing $437.52, off of $1.05 today. Obviously, not threatening that 450 strike we were talking about a while ago, and really not even the 440s after a little bit of a surge early in the morning. Putting up 2.76 million contracts for the number 3 spot out there today. The hot option in Tesla land, 207,000 of our old friends, the 440s. Average price for these, $1.46. This was opening flow, and you had some moments earlier in the morning. Later on in the session, those are looking a little bit challenging, even though he did break the 440 handle again for about 40 to 50 cents later on in the session. So you had some opportunities to maybe recapture some of what you paid for these. If you rode them through the close, then unfortunately that $1.46 not looking that great right now. As we keep climbing to number 2, and Nvidia not looking that great today either, selling off about 90 cents or about 0.5% to close, 186.10. Putting up 3.05 million contracts. That's usually enough for the number 1 spot, but not today, listeners. What took the number 1 spot? Well, stay tuned to find out. Nvidia, of course, number 2. The hot option in Nvidia today, 205,000 of the 190s. Average price for these, 48 cents. This was an opening trade. Looks like we did get there. Got up to 190.44, so these were looking better earlier in the day, obviously. But looks like paper might have sold these as well, in which case you sweated it out a little bit earlier in the session. By the end of the day, you were looking good. You pocketed all of that 48 cents if you did indeed sell these and ride them into the close. But now it's time to ride on into the number 1 spot. What could kick Nvidia and Tesla to the curb on a day when they were both doing impressive volume numbers? It's our old friend Wolfspeed rocketing to the top of the list. Ticker symbol Wolf, of course, listeners. Trading $20.35, up 43 cents, or a little over 2% today, but putting up a face-melting, eye-watering 3.44 million contracts out there today, listeners. Just absolutely wild stuff. Right, before you get too excited, Wolfspeed was a name that was dealing with a lot of corporate actions and issues and bankruptcy last year, and they had to reissue their stock at a different price. So there's been a lot of shenanigans going on behind the scenes for a while in Wolfspeed, which is what's driving this flow out there today. This paper, including the hot option out here today, 1.14 million of the Jan 2 puts. Yes, I said the 2 puts, stock closing $20.35. The two puts, just absolutely wild stuff out here in the Wolf. There's been a lot of shenanigans with this stock for a while. I don't think we've seen the last of the options shenanigans, but we'll keep an eye on this one, listeners. Can it make it back into our top 10 again soon? We'll find out. That is going to do it for us on your Hot Options Report for Friday, January 16th. Remember, check out our friends over there at thehotoptionsreport.com for all this data and a whole bunch more we don't have time to get to on the show. You can carve up the entire options market however you want. Thehotoptionsreport.com, the place to go to kick the tires and light the fires. See you back here next week on the network. And of course, stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.